In this video we are going to talk about top 10 wars with highest death total. So before starting this video, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. Number 10. 30 Years' War. The 30 Years' War was a conflict fought in Central Europe between 1618 and 1648 between the European powers of the time. It lasted for 30 years, from 1618 to 1648. Although the war began as a conflict between Protestant and Catholic states from the disintegrating Holy Roman Empire, it quickly spread throughout the continent of Europe in the years that followed, eventually encompassing much of the entire continent. Despite the fact that some regions of Europe suffered more than others, it is estimated that nearly 8 million people died as a result of the 30 Years' War, with an equal number of people being wounded. Number 9. Chinese Civil War. This conflict, which took place in China during the mid-20th century between communist forces and the Republic of China, is known as the Chinese Civil War. It occurred in two distinct phases, the first of which occurred between 1927 and 1936 and the second of which occurred between 1946 and 1950, due to the outbreak of World War II. The first phase occurred between 1927 and 1936, and the second phase occurred between 1946 and 1950. Following the fall of the in total, it is estimated that nearly 8 million people, both military personnel and civilians, died as a result of the Chinese Civil War, both military and civilian deaths. Number 8. The Russian Civil War. Known as the Russian Civil War, it was a multi-party conflict that took place between 1917 and 1926 and involved both the Red Army, Communist, and the White Army, Nationalist, forces. Following the dissolution of Tsar Nicholas II's power and the collapse of the Russian Empire, Bolshevik forces led by Vladimir Lenin engaged nationalist troops for control of the Russian interior, with disastrous consequences in terms of lives lost and property destroyed. The Bloody War, which raged across Russia's interior for approximately 6 years, pitted Russians against Russians as numerous skirmishes and battles erupted across the country. Despite the horrendous losses suffered by both sides in the conflict, it is difficult to estimate the total number of deaths during the Russian Civil War because the conflict occurred during a chaotic period in Russian history that saw the radical transfer of power from the Tsar to revolutionary forces. Despite this, historians generally agree that the war claimed approximately 9 million lives, with several million more being maimed or seriously injured as a result of the conflict. Number 7. The Dungan Revolt. The Dungan Revolt, also known as the Hui Minorities' War, was a religious struggle that raged in western China from 1862 to 1877. The war began when Hui Muslims in China began rioting in protest at the Qing dynasty's continued religious and racial oppression. The Qing authorities struck with surprising speed in reaction to the riots, unleashing deadly reprisals and killings against Hui Muslims across western China. As the struggle progressed, the Hui rebels found themselves outmanned and outgunned by their foes, as the Qing government waged a total war campaign against both rebels and Muslim civilians. As a result, the total number of deaths could be as high as 20 million. Number 6. First World War. The First World War, popularly known as the Great War, was a global battle that began on July 28, 1914, in Europe. During the 4-year battle, about 70 million military people were mobilized as the European continent was consumed by fighting in practically every corner of the globe. When the war ended in November 1918, Europe was left in ruins on a scale never seen before in history, with the continent undergoing profound political, social, economic, and cultural transformations as a result of the conflict. Epidemics and genocides, alone, are thought to have claimed the lives of another 50 to 100 million people. Number 5. Taiping Rebellion. The Taiping Rebellion, or Taiping Civil War, was a civil war in China between the Qing government and the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom from 1850 and 1864. The Taiping troops, led by Hong Xiuquan, who claimed to be Jesus Christ's brother, launched a nationalist, political, and religious war against the Qing dynasty in order to convert the Chinese people to Christianity, and toppling the Qing government in the process. Due to a dearth of official records from this time period, it is difficult to estimate the number of people that died during the Taiping Rebellion. However, most estimates put the death toll between 20 and 30 million, with tens of thousands more injured. Number 4. The Qing Conquest of the Ming Dynasty. The Qing Conquest of the Ming Dynasty, also known as the Ming-Qing Transition or the Manchu Conquest of China, was a centuries-long conflict between the Qing and Ming dynasties that lasted from 1618 to 1683. Rebel groups, together with bands of peasants, waged war against the ruling Ming dynasty in the intention of obtaining reform, based on a list of complaints known as the Seven Grievances, which enumerated the key social and political difficulties facing China at the time. In general, however, it is estimated that about 25 million people died as a result of the conflict, with millions more crippled and scarred as a result of the various battles. Number 3. Second Sino-Japanese War. The Second Sino-Japanese War was fought between the Republic of China and the Imperial Japanese Empire. The war, which lasted from July 7, 1937, to September 2, 1945, is usually regarded as one of the deadliest in human history, as Japanese soldiers raped, pillaged, and slaughtered innumerable Chinese citizens and military men in their pursuit of victory. Although estimates vary widely, depending on the source, the Second Sino-Japanese War is widely believed to have killed nearly 29 million people. Number 2. Dungan Rebellion. The Dungan Rebellion was a significant war in China that took place on December 16, 755 AD. The insurrection, which lasted nearly 8 years, began when General Dungan declared himself Emperor of Northern China in defiance of the established Tang Dynasty. The Tang Dynasty, fearful that their reign was coming to an end, enlisted roughly 4,000 mercenaries to accompany their army in the battles that followed. The conflict, which lasted 3 emperors and caused massive social, economic, and political turmoil in China, was finally put down in 763 AD. Scholars estimate that a staggering 36 million people died in total, including military and civilians. Number 1. Second World War. The Second World War, also known as World War II, was a vast global struggle that lasted from 1939 to 1945 and involving nearly every country on the planet. The two military coalitions, divided into 2 camps, the Axis versus the Allies, engaged in complete war for nearly 6 years, with terrible repercussions in terms of death and damage. In total, an estimated 100 million military men from 30 different countries were thrown into the fight, with disastrous results. Thousands of cities were devastated, and millions of people died as a result of the fighting. Scholars estimate that around 70 million people died as a result of the Second World War. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.